Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, man. It's your boy Teach back in the building, man. Back with another video. Oh, man. First off, I just got to give all thanks and praise to the Most High, for the opportunity to be back and commune and build and reason with the fam, with the tribe. Once again, you know how I go, man. It's been a minute, man. It's been a hot minute. I gotta apologize to the fam, and everybody that rock with me, cause, honestly, man, it's probably about the longest break between videos that I've had. So, I want to apologize, to the fam for that. But, we here, man, we back. To be honest with you, man, I've been had this video, man. I've been sitting on this information for a while. Been supposed to get, to y'all with this video, man, but, just life. And then not only that, man, but as I kept going, the Most High just kept dropping information and wisdom on me, So, with patience, I was able to get everything I needed to kind of bring you guys this holistic perspective right here, you know what I mean? So, we thankful for that, man. Like I say, man, I hope everybody out there doing good, man. Hope everybody is continuing on their journey, to seek, wisdom, information, knowledge, the Creator, you know what I'm saying, and to live righteous lives. Hope you guys haven't strayed off course. So yeah, man, we back with another video, man. Very powerful video, man. As you can see, my thought about y'all today. We got, 2 parts, I usually cram everything into one part, you know what I mean? But, with this video, I felt I had to do it a certain way just to make sure, the things, were conveyed the way I needed them to be conveyed. So make sure you guys get both parts, you know what I'm saying? So, man, with this video, we gonna ruffle some feathers a little bit, cause we're going to the source, we're going to the source. And with that, we're gonna develop, just a different perspective than most people have that study the things we study, and that dig in the information that we dig in. And right now, with this information, what I also want to do is I want to highlight an aspect of our culture, our cosmology, that we in this Western world tend to not honor the way we should, and that's the divine feminine. The divine feminine is so important in our culture and cosmology. Man, if somebody was to ask me, like, what I think the spiritual system of the original, aboriginal, indigenous man of planet Earth is, I'd have to say, like, simply, it is the understanding and honoring of the divine feminine. Like, that's man's spiritual system. You feel me? It's to understand and honor the divine feminine. Because once man has the ability to understand the divine feminine in correlation to the Creator and creation and honor that as sacred, that's what puts him in a position to righteously rule and exists with and within creation. You feel me? That's the first step. Is to understand and honor the divine feminine. That's what puts man in a position to righteously rule upon creation as he is called in existence to do. Right? So when you look at planet Earth today, and you see a lot of the chaos, a lot of the disorder, a lot of the atrocities that you see on the planet, a lot of this is due to the lack of respect and regard for the divine feminine, for the divine earth mother. You feel me? What you see is a lot of overly masculine, overly expansive energy that is ultimately leading to the demise of our planet. And for us as planet keepers, that's a problem. Because what we're doing is we are kindling the anger of a righteous father because the children won't honor and respect the mother. That's what's going on the planet. We have what our ancestors called kindled the anger of the Lord. And so when you understand that from the perspective of our ancestors who viewed the Creator in creation, God in nature, we understand this as planetary catastrophe, natural catastrophe. You feel me? When we talk about global warming, when we talk about climate change and the sporadic weather that comes with that, all the earthquakes in diverse places and things like that the Bible talks about, all these crazy weather patterns are due to the kindling of the anger of the Lord, the wrath of the Creator. You feel me? So for us as planet keepers, that's a problem. When we were commanded to dress and keep the garden, right, to righteously protect and provide for creation. That's a problem when we are invoking destruction upon creation, because we are not honoring the divine feminine, the mother, right? So, in our tradition, we know that the priesthood were responsible for making atonement, right, for appeasing the anger of the Lord, right? They were given the wisdom, the knowledge, the ritual formulas to conduct this science of appeasing God's anger, right? So one of the reasons why, the resurrection of the priesthood, the purification of the priesthood is so important is because we have to tap into this knowledge, this wisdom, this science, because we're going to have to appease the anger of the Lord, right, from bringing destruction upon creation, upon the planet, because we have failed to honor the divine feminine and the mother, right? These are very serious times we living in, and we look at a lot of the destruction that our ancestors was prophesied to come, was due to that kindling of the Creator's anger, right? The bringing forth of that wrath. Now, man, since the beginning, man, I've been rocking with them cedars. It's always been about them cedars. It always come back to the cedar. We are cedars. The cedar, the ministry of the cedar taught us about separation and purification. That's what it hit us with, separation, purification. But in that process of separation and purification, which we're going to build on today, the reason for that is to create a purified substance. And with this purified substance, it's what we make atonement with. And that wisdom is what we have to understand, if we're really claiming to be who we are. Because that's what's going to be needed in these times. And forget what these jokers talking about, what these people are preaching. You feel me? Forget these people that are claiming to be priests, but they don't have the knowledge and the wisdom to appease the anger of the Lord, the divine forces in creation. They don't have that wisdom. They don't have that knowledge. If they did, some of the things that are happening on the planet wouldn't be taking place, So it's important, man, for us as understanding the ministry of the cedar, right? The separation and purification, to bring about this purified substance, right? To be like a cloud of incense that goes round about purifying. You feel me? A space so that righteous energy can take place. The restoration of order can take place, right? We are to be that purified substance that calls and brings back the divine feminine, right? We know the divine feminine is all about purity, purification. Remember, we were talking about Artemis in the Archangel Michael video. It's all about purification. The feminine energy is more likely to want to be clean and pure. The masculine energy will get dirty, down and dirty. You know what I'm saying? But that cleanliness is like a feminine attribute. You feel me? So we, as that purified substance, must bring must help usher in the divine feminine through cleansing and purification. All right. So yeah, man, that's going to be the understanding that we're going to be tapping into today, man. When we understand our disregard for the divine feminine, we understand how we are kindling the anger of the Lord, and then what we need to do to appease it, which will ultimately result in us saving our planet. We spend so much time trying to convince people of who we are, things of that nature, and instead of just taking the time to come back home to the mother, to the divine feminine, to creation, to nature. The heathen round about, the Gentiles, the other nations, they're going to know who you are by your ability to be a planet keeper, to save the planet, by your ability to tap into the wisdom of the ancients left behind to teach man how to harmoniously build civilizations on the planet that operate in harmony with the divine feminine. You feel me? The world is going to know who you are by your ability to do that. All you have to do is return to the Creator, return home, honor the mother, understand these concepts, okay? So without further ado, man, let's go ahead and tap in. Okay, this video I did, the cherubim, earthly mothers, angels, chariots of the Most High. Please go catch that. That information is very foundational for this video. So if you haven't caught that, catch that at some time, please. Appreciate that. All right, so first off, man, I want to come over here to turpentine, right? Turpentine is an interesting substance. But the reason why I'm coming here today is because I want to get the way turpentine is made. That's because the process is very important for this information, right? And it's the way that it's worded here is one of the reasons why I want to get it from turpentine as well. So turpentine is a fluid obtained by the distillation of resin, okay, from harvested from living trees, mainly pines. Mainly used as a specialized solvent, it is a source of material for organic synthesis, all right? But it's obtained by the distillation of resin. Okay, that's very important, right? So when you drop down to industrial and other end users, to the source of organic compounds, check it out. It says turpentine is also used as a source of raw materials in the synthesis of fragrant chemical compounds. Commercially used camphor, linalool, alpha terpenoil, and geraniol are all usually produced from alpha pinene and beta pinene, which are two of the chief chemical compounds of turpentine, right? Check it out. It says these pinenes are separated and purified by distillation. Alright, that's what I wanted to get. Okay, so that's what I wanted to focus on, man. You see that this chemical substance, or in particular these pinenes, are extracted by separation and purification through a process known as distillation. Okay, so we always talking about the cedars, right? And from like I say, the ministry of the cedars, we understood the concept of separation and purification, right? Especially from Babylon, separating from Babylon, purifying in the wilderness, right? So that we can walk into the new phase in a holistic manner, right? So it's very interesting that we see that that process is actually a process in chemistry that we know of as distillation. Okay, real quick, just to touch on distillation. Distillation, or classical distillation, is the process of separating the components or substances of a liquid mixture by using selective boiling and condensation. Dry distillation is the heating of solid materials to produce gaseous products, which may condense into liquids or solids. Dry distillation may involve chemical changes, such as destructive distillation or cracking, and is not discussed under this article. Distillation may result in essentially a complete separation, right? Nearly pure components, or it may be a partial separation that increases the concentration of selected components in the mixture. All right, peep game now, you know. In either case, the process exploits differences in relative volatility of the mixture's components. In industrial application, distillation is a unit operation of practically universal importance, but it is a physical separation process, not a chemical reaction. Alright, so peep game, check that out. I'm not gonna get too much. Right here, history, early evidence of distillation was found on Akkadian tablets, describing perfumery operations. The tablets provided textual evidence that an early primitive form of distillation was known to the Babylonians of ancient Mesopotamia. Alright, that region very important for this information. Alright, early evidence of distillation was also found related to alchemists working in Alexandria in Roman Egypt in the 1st century. Okay, so just to reiterate real quick, so when we understand the concept of, like I say, from the ministry of the Cedars about separation, purification, we see that this process is a scientific process known as distillation. So what we then see is that there is a substance that the Most High is taking through a process of distillation to separate components, purify them to get, a purified substance, right? So that's very important to understand. Okay, I want to bring you over here to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Gonna get verse 2, right? It says, "My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew." Okay, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. So the Most High is saying that his doctrine shall drop as the rain, his speech, his word shall distill as the dew, right? So we're looking at this dew, right? This vaporized, substance that is upon the tender herb and as showered upon the grass, as a distilled product, right? The Most High say his speech shall distill as the dew. Okay, we got distillation, but here at distill, it says purify a liquid by vaporizing it, then condensing it by cooling the vapor and collecting the resulting liquid. So we're talking about a purification process, right? Vapor, mist, the dew. All right, man. So, so what we know is that if we're being called to separate and purify, then we know that, the Most High is undergoing a process of distillation so that he can create a purified substance. Now what he's going to do with this purified substance is very important, right? Now we were looking at this from the turpentine tab, and we even seen in the scientific method of distillation that they would take that substance, the turpentine, and undergo distillation to isolate the alpha and the beta pinene. We know the pinene, those organic compounds, are used in a lot of the cleaning agents that we use. So we see that they take a substance, undergo distillation to isolate certain compounds and create a purified substance that we can do some cleaning with. So that's very important. So take that into consideration. So we come over here to Micah chapter 5 verse 7, right? So check out what it says. Micah chapter 5 verse 7. says, and the remnant of Jacob, right? We're talking about the remnant of Jacob, shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from the Lord, right? So we're talking about the remnant, the preserved, the separate, aspect of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And as the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flock of sheep, who if he go through both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Right? Thine hand shall be lifted upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. Okay? Alright, so peep game, right? The remnant of Jacob shall be this product of distillation, right? This dew from the Lord, right? That goes through like a lion, devouring, that none can deliver. No different than a cleaning agent, right? Cleaning agents say that they kill, 99.99% germs, right? But I mean, ain't nothing supposedly escaping. You feel me? So we got this product of distillation, that is this purified substance that is going to be doing a lot of purification in the end times, going through the earth as a lion, right? That none can deliver. All right, so coming over here to Isaiah 18, we're going to get verse 4. Check out what he say. It says, for so the Lord said unto me, I will take my rest, and I will consider my dwelling place. All right, so first of all, we already know we're talking about the divine Shekinah. We're talking about the dwelling, the settling, the resting of the Spirit of the Lord. We're talking about the divine Shekinah, which is ultimately the divine feminine, all right, a feminine aspect. All right, so it says, for so the Lord said unto me, I will take my rest, and I will consider in my dwelling place like a clear heat upon herbs, and like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. All right, so peep game, right? The Most High is saying that his dwelling place is like a clear heat upon herbs, like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. All right, remember we were building on Leviticus 16, where the Most High was literally showing us his presence in the cloud of incense, right? So he's saying that he would take rest in his dwelling place will be like a clear heat upon her, like the burning of incense, like the smoke, the cloud of incense, right? Like it said, a cloud of dew, right? When we burn an incense, what are we doing? Are we not refining and separating components, isolating components, right? Extracting aromatic hydrocarbons out of herbs, releasing them into the atmosphere so they can do whatever it is they're designed to do, right? And we also see how these particular chemicals have the ability to provide the Shekinah, right? So that's why it's important to understand this concept of distillation as a nation, right? The remnant being this product of distillation that goes throughout purifying, because the Most High dwells in this cloud of dew, in this product of distillation. The Most High is present in this creation. He is the driving force behind this cloud of dew going through the earth, purifying, correcting, reinstalling the honoring of the divine feminine in the earth, purifying things so that this divine feminine energy can come in. You feel me? Okay, so this purified substance ultimately creates a space for the divine creator to come in and restore order in the earth. Right, the same way I talked about chemicals. We know chemicals are literally vehicles for spirits and divine forces to come in and do their bidding in creation, right? So, like I say, this purified substance is then like a vehicle that the divine can use to restore order in the earth. All right, so now that we understand that concept, just based on the remnant being a product of distillation, we need to. The reason why that's important, also, is because we got to understand that as it pertains to Israel, because we need to understand what Israel is, and understand that Israel is a product of distillation as well, right? It's a lot of bickering and, like almost like gang banging with ancient cultures and ancient civilization, that take a lot from the true perspective. And the true perspective is that we are products of separated and purified phenomenons that come out of civilizations, right? So let's dive into that for a second. Okay, so, let's take it back for a second, man. Just from a biblical perspective, I want to look at the story of Noah. And I'm actually going to touch on this story in a different light, but that's for the second part. So I'll leave that for them. But just based on, the way we know the story and the way it's portrayed to us, when we look at Noah, we're looking at Noah living in a time where a man has apparently and supposedly kindled the anger of the Lord, right? And so we see this has set off a weather phenomenon, in which it has rained for 40 days and 40 nights, right, and flooded the earth. So, but you see, Noah was preserved. Noah and his family, his seed, right, his lineage was preserved, as well as the animals and the fowls of the earth and things of that nature. So what you're looking at ultimately is an early form of distillation, right? The Most High undergoing distillation with man in this wicked civilization that has established itself in the earth, right? And the separated, purified, isolated components of that distillation process was the gene pool of Noah, right? Noah and his sons and their wives, right? So separated and purified on the journey of 40 days, all right, 40 nights away from the rest of the world, away from that civilization that they had just left to be established somewhere else to do something else. So just want to show this to show just an early form of distillation amongst men. Okay, next I want to look at Abraham, right? We know that Abraham was a Chaldean from Ur, meaning that Abraham was from ancient Sumer. All right, ancient Sumer is going to be very important for this information that we're going to be diving into today. So this is very important, right? Abraham was from ancient Sumer. Okay, and we also know that Abraham left Sumer, right, and became known as a Hebrew, right, to cross over, right, and he is the father, one of the patriarchs of the Israelite nation. So when we understand what's going on, we see that Abraham is a product of distillation from the kingdom of Sumer, right? He had left Ur, right, which was a city in ancient Sumer. He had left there and went into the land of Canaan, on a journey with the Creator, right? Because apparently, the Most High was not dealing with that civilization at the time, as it had became corrupt, right? We know from the book of Joshua, Abraham was pretty much going against the gods, the idols, that they were worshiping in that civilization, showing you that they had lost their way, right? So we see that the Most High God, that Abraham and his portion out of that city, right? This is another form of separation and purification amongst man. Okay, last point I want to build on for this concept is the Exodus, right? So in the Exodus, we have a nation of people that are separating from a Egyptian civilization, right? Going through a process of purification for 40 years, right? And then being established in their land as a new kingdom, a new civilization. So again, here we have the Most High dealing with the civilization of Egypt, undergoing a product of distillation, isolating components, separating and purifying people to create a nation that was Israel, right? So this is very important because we see that Abraham was a product of distillation from Sumer, right? Then we see Israel coming out of Egypt as a product of distillation from Egypt. Okay, so, ultimately what you see is that the nation of Israel in itself, what it means to be an Israelite, the people that the book, the Bible, are referring to as the nation of Israel, is a product of distillation from ancient civilizations of Sumer and Egypt. In itself, in its core, the nation of Israel is a product of separated and purified extractions from Sumer and Egypt. That's very important to understand, because when we understand that the wisdom, the science left behind from these civilizations is a part of our inheritance. It's not to be separated. You feel what I'm saying? Okay, Abraham came out of ancient Sumer, part of the ruling class. You feel me? Israel come out of ancient Egypt, part of the ruling class. Joseph was ruling in Egypt, right? Israel was dwelling in Goshen, the richest part. So imagine the contributions to civilization that they were making, being in those places of the kingdom. All right, so we got to understand that the nation of Israel itself is nothing but a product of distillation from ancient Sumer and Egypt. And these kingdoms are known as the mothers of civilization. You feel me? Full of rich science, knowledge, and wisdom, alchemy, right? So we got to understand that, and we have to tap into that ancestral wisdom, right? Because that is a part of our inheritance as the nation of Israel. We are a purified substance from these kingdoms. So the goal is to take the wisdom, the knowledge, the science from these ancient civilizations and bring a purified product to the world, right? Free from the corruption that ultimately made the Most High disassociate himself from these kingdoms. What we ultimately have to understand is that we are a purified product extracted out of very powerful kingdoms. And even right now, in our time of separation and purification, detaching from Babylon, it's the same thing, right? We become a separated and purified product from this civilization that we currently live in. So that past and present connection we have to civilizations is very powerful, especially being a purified product, because we can then take the wisdom, knowledge from these civilizations, purify them, and bring forth harmonious wisdom to the planet, right? So we can operate in accordance with divine law. Prime example I give you is the Dogon. The Dogon are another product of distillation, a purified substance that have brought forth a lot of wisdom, retained a lot of knowledge in being so. A lot of people don't know that the Dogon and the Dogon are also thought to be one of the first people ruling in Kemet in Egypt as well. But what's interesting about the Dogon is the Dogon were part of the Mende Empire, right? Let's get something real quick. All right, so check this out real quick, right? It said among the Dogon, several oral traditions have been recorded as to their origin. One relates to their coming from Mende, right, located in the southwest of the Bandiagara escarpment near Bamako. According to this oral tradition, the first Dogon settlement was established in the extreme southwest in the escarpment at Kanina. Archaeological and ethno-archaeological studies in the Dogon region have been especially revealing about the settlement and environmental history and about social practices and technologies in this area over several thousands of years, right? It say over time the Dogon moved north along the escarpment, arriving in the Sangha region in the 15th centuries. Other oral histories place the origin of the Dogon to the west, beyond the river Niger, or tell of the Dogon coming from the east. It is likely that the Dogon of today are descendants of several groups of diverse origin who migrated to escape Islamization. So, what you see is that this powerful empire and kingdom of Mali, right, this Mende kingdom of Mali, began to become corrupt and accept Islam and things of that nature. And you had a group of people that wanted to preserve their traditional spirituality. We talked about that a lot last video, right? Like Maroons and stuff like that. People who keep the traditions of their ancestral spiritual system, right? So the Dogon are just that. They are people that wanted to keep and preserve their traditional way of life. They didn't want to accept Islam, so they separated themselves from the rest of Mandinka. The same way with the Assyrians, right? The Assyrians did not want to be colonized with the doctrine of Babylon that the Israelites began to adopt. So they separated themselves from all Israel and its wickedness. Same thing with the Dogon and the Mende, right? And the Dogon preserved a lot of wisdom. About extraterrestrial, celestial bodies that they would have had no way of knowing. Just being this product of distillation, of separation and purification out of this kingdom, because they moved to the cliffs of the desert, man, and made a way out there. All right, man. So, it's very important to understand, just the importance of, these periods of distillation amongst the kingdoms and amongst the tribes, and the way knowledge and wisdom is preserved because of it. So as the nation of Israel is supposed to be the same way. We've extracted and distilled from these kingdoms that begin to become corrupt. But there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that we were supposed to purify and bring to the people, right? So it's imperative that we do that, right? So I want to come over here, man, to Psalms 104 and get this verse from verse 16. Psalms 104:16 is interesting. Cause we talk about, the cedars, the ministry of the cedars being separated and purified, right? This verse says, the trees of the Lord are full of sap, the cedars of Lebanon, which he has planted, right? So the Most High is saying that the cedars of Lebanon are full of sap. And I just find that very interesting because if you look at SAP as an acronym, it's separation and purification. All right, man. So I just find that dope. You know what I'm saying? Separation and purification. SAP. SAP. Digging on the cedars and stuff like that. So speaking of the cedars, we're gonna take it back to the time of Noah, and build on gopher wood. Because there was something very interesting that I seen about gopher wood that I had never seen before. That really caught my attention and led me on to, just a plethora of information. So let's dig into it, right? So, gopher wood, we know, is a term, used, once in the Bible for the substance of which Noah's Ark was built, right? It states that Noah, was to build the Ark of gopher, and more commonly translated as gopher wood, a word not otherwise known in the Bible or in Hebrew, although some English Bibles attain the translation, right? Older English translations, including the King James, leave it untranslated. The word is unrelated to the name of the American animal known as gopher, right? Or so they say. So let's see here what we want. Alright, so as we the wood that they say is gopher is cypress, right? We're digging on that cypress and cedar and stuff like that. It says many modern English translations tend to favor cypress, although otherwise the word for cypress in biblical Hebrew is bishran, right? You got the Aramaic Targum Onkelos, considered by many Jews to be an authoritative translation of the Hebrew scripture, render this word as quadros cedar, right? But we know that American cedars are classified under Supercacia, which is a cypress family. So we all dealing, with the same family, the cedar cypress family, right? Other suggestions include pine, cedar. So what's interesting, okay, check this out. It says, some suggest that the word could actually be kopher, meaning pitch, right? Kopher wood, meaning pitch wood. That's interesting. We're talking about resinous wood with pitch, with gum, things of that nature. But what's interesting though, man, is, when we dive into the etymology of this word, gopher. Alright, man, so when we go over here to gopher in the etymology dictionaries, we can see when you search it, pulls up cypress. Alright, so when we go to it, it says gopher, burrowing squirrel, right? Perhaps an Englishing of Louisiana French gopher, honeycomb, waffle, right? Said to have been used by French settlers in reference to small mammals on the analogy of structure of their burrows, from Old French gopher, wafer, which is from Frankish or some other Germanic source. The rodent was nicknamed of the people from Arkansas and later Minnesota. The gopher wood tree of the Bible used by Noah to make the ark in Genesis is unrelated. It is from Hebrew gopher, right? So they say. Name of a kind of wood now unidentified, perhaps meaning cypress, right? So what's interesting about this is you find out that this word gopher, it means honeycomb, right? Alright, so gopher, pocket gophers, commonly referred to as gophers, are burrowing rodents, right? Jump down here. It says the origin of the word gopher is uncertain. The French gopher, meaning waffle, has been suggested on account of the gopher's tunnels resembling the honeycomb-like patterns of holes in the waffles. Alright. And if any of y'all from the deep south, from Florida like me, you familiar with the gopher turtle. And they got that interesting, almost hexagonal pattern. It's not necessarily the exact all the time like a honeycomb. Sometimes it is. A lot of times it's not, but it still kind of got that honeycomb waffle like kind of pattern on it, which is interesting. But that's not even the reason why they call it a gopher turtle. It's more so due to I guess the way they burrow like the rodents. But it's interesting because they kind of got that pattern on their back. Those of you who are familiar with them know what I'm talking about. So, they tell us that they don't know why the wood is called gopher wood, what that name refers to, and it's only used one time, and it's used to refer to a type of cypress or cedar. But the word gopher from their language means honeycomb. Right, and I think that's very interesting. I think there is a correlation to that. I think there's a very interesting and powerful correlation to that. I think it's not a coincidence that they named this tree gopher wood, and don't nobody know why. I think it very much has something to do with the honeycomb. So let's build on some things. Okay, man, so I want to take you over here to the book of 2 Maccabees, right, chapter 1. And we're going to extract some very profound information out of this chapter, man. So let's go ahead and drop down to verse 19. And I'm going to read this, and then we're going to break it down, all right? So let's go. All right, so verse 19. For when our fathers were led into Persia, the priests that were then devout took the fire of the altar privately and hid it in a hollow place of a pit without water, where they kept it sure so that the place was unknown to all men. Now after many years, when it pleased God, Nehemiah, being sent from the king of Persia, did send of the posterity of those priests that had hid it to the fire. But when they told us, they found no fire, but thick water. They then commanded he them to draw it up and to bring it. And when the sacrifices were laid on, Nehemiah commanded the priests to sprinkle the wood and things laid thereupon with the water. When this was done, at the time came that the sun shone, which was afore hid in the cloud. There was a great fire kindled, so that every man marveled. And the priest made a prayer while the sacrifice was consuming. I say both the priest and the rest, Jonathan beginning, and the rest answered thereunto as Nehemiah did. So let's listen to the prayer. It says, and the prayer was after this manner: O Lord, Lord God, creator of all things, who are fearful and strong and righteous and merciful, and the only and gracious King, the only giver of all things, the only just, almighty, and everlasting, thou that deliverest Israel from all trouble, and did choose thy fathers and sanctify them. Alright. Did choose the fathers and sanctify them. Alright. Receive the sacrifice for thy whole people of Israel, and preserve thine own portion and sanctify it. Alright. So understand, still talking about distillation. He say, gather those together, right, that are scattered from us, deliver them that serve among the heathen, look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art our God. Punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong. Plant thy people again in thy holy places, Moses is speaking. And the priest sung psalms of thanksgiving. Alright, so peep that prayer. Now when the sacrifice was consumed, Nehemiah commanded the water that was left to be poured on the great stones. When this was done, there was kindled a flame, but it was consumed by the light that shined from the altar. When this matter was known, it was told to the king of Persia that in the place where the priests that were led astray had hid the fire, there appeared water, and that Nehemiah had purified the sacrifices therewith. Then the king enclosed the place, made it holy, and after he had tried the matter. And the king took many gifts and bestowed thereof on those whom he would gratify. And Nehemiah called this thing Naphthar, which is as to say a cleansing, but many men called it Nephi. Well, what you will see is actually in like an actual apocrypha or King James, the word here where it says Nephi, it would actually be Naphtha. So it would be this word just without the R. So it would say but many men called it Naphtha. Alright, so let's break this down, what we just read, right? So, you know, when it first starts off, it says, for when our fathers were led into Persia. Okay, so first off, we need to understand one thing. When we're talking about Persia, ancient Persia, it's modern day Iran. And when we're dealing with Iran, we know we're dealing with oil, you know, petroleum. So that's very important to keep in mind, for what we're building on, right? So, you know, it says that the fathers were led into Persia, and that priests that were devout took the fire from the altar and hid it in the hollow place of a cave, of a pit without water, right? So they were saying, because they were being led into Persia. So the priests took fire from the altar and put it in a pit without water, where they kept it sure, so that the place was unknown to all men, so nobody knew about it. And then it said, now after many years, when it pleased God, Nehemiah, being sent from the king of Persia, did send of the posterity of those priests that had hid it to the fire. But when they told us, they found no fire but thick water. So here you see many years later that the children of the priests who hid the fire went back to get the fire, and they didn't find no fire. They only found thick water. Okay, first things first, we see that fire is being taken from the altar to a hollow pit without water. So we got to consider the components of the altar, and the way they're transporting this fire, right? Because one thing we know that's always burning on the altar is wood, right? Wood is to be kept on the altar, is to always be burning, right? You know, different verses about the wood, you know, and the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire. Okay, you jump down, it says, and the fire upon the altar shall be burning it shall not be on it every morning, and lay the burnt offering in order upon it, and he shall burn thereon the fat of the peace offering. So we see right there that regardless, there is always supposed to be wood burning on the altar. And we know what type of wood, you know, I know there's 12 different, I believe, woods of offering. And we know cedar is one of them. We know the altar is made out of cedar, the temple's made out of cedar, the ark's made out of cedar, and things of that nature. So we got to understand the fuel that's keeping this fire lit is the wood of the altar. Alright, so I want to bring you over here to eternal flame. Because we're talking about a flame that's burning for a long time in a hollow pit. You feel me? Remember it said that Nehemiah sent the posterity of the priest that put it there, meaning the children, years later, right? And they didn't find the fire. What they found was thick water, right? So they intended for this fire to be burning for a long time. Alright, so let's go over to eternal flame. It says an eternal flame is a flame, lamp, or torch that burns for an indefinite time. Most eternal flames are ignited intentionally, but some are natural phenomena caused by natural gas leaks, peat fires, coal seam fires, all of which can be ignited, initially ignited by lightning, piezoelectricity, or human activity, some of which have burned for hundreds of thousands of years. Alright, so in ancient times, eternal flames were fueled by wood or olive oil. Modern examples usually use a piped supply of propane or natural gas. They consume oxygen, transforming it to carbon dioxide and water. Alright, important. Human created eternal flames most often commemorate a person or event of national significance, serve as a symbol of an enduring nature such as a religious belief or a reminder of commitment to a common goal such as diplomacy, right? Very important. Alright, jump down to religious and cultural significance. It says the eternal fire is a long-standing tradition in many cultures and religion in ancient Iran. Alright, peep game, because we were just talking about Persia, right? Which is ancient Iran. The altar was tended by a dedicated priest and represented the concept of the divine sparks or Amisha Spenta and understood in Zoroastrianism. Period sources indicate that 3 great fires existed in the Achaemenid era of Persian history, which are collectively considered the earliest reference to the practice of creating ever-burning community fires. Okay. The eternal flame was a concept of Jewish religious rituals performed in the tabernacle and later the temple of Jerusalem, where a commandment required a fire to burn continuously upon the altar. Modern Judaism continues a similar tradition by having a sanctuary lamp, always lit above the ark in the synagogue. Okay, the Cherokee Nation maintained a fire at the seat of government until ousted by the Indian Removal Act in 1830. At the time, embers from the last great council fire were carried west to the nation's new home in Oklahoma Territory. The flame maintained in Oklahoma was carried back to the last seat of the Cherokee government. Alright, so peep that right there. Another transporting of a sacred altar fire. So, take all that into consideration. Okay, so it's saying eternal flames can sometimes be natural phenomena caused by gas leaks, peat fires, and coal seam fires. I want to build on this coal seam fires real quick. Alright, it says a coal seam fire is a burning of an outcrop or underground coal seam. Most coal seam fires exhibit smoldering combustion, particularly underground coal seam fires because of limited atmospheric oxygen availability. Coal seam fires instances on Earth date back several million years. Due to thermal insulation and avoidance of rain, snow extinguished by the crust, underground coal seam fires are the most persistent fires on Earth and can burn for thousands of years. Alright, like Burning Mountain in Australia, coal seam fires can be ignited by self-heating of low temperature oxidation, lighting, wildfires, and even arson. Right, coal seam fires have been slowly shaping the lithosphere and changing the atmosphere, but this pace has become faster and more extensive in modern times, triggered by mining. Alright, so coal seam fires is a burning of an outcrop or underground coal seam. Alright, so coal seam take you to coal mining. Right, coal mining is the process of extracting coal from the ground. Coal is valued for its energy content, and since the 1880s has been widely used to generate electricity. Alright, steel and cement industries use coal as a fuel for the extraction of iron from iron ore and for cement production. Alright, in the United Kingdom and South Africa, a coal mine and its structures are a colliery. A coal mine is called a pit. Peep that. And the above ground structures are a pit head. So a coal mine is called a pit. That's very interesting because remember, they said that the priest took the fire and hid it in the hollow place of a pit without water, right? And they kept it sure so that the place was unknown to all men, right? So we're talking about a flame that's burning for a long time on coals, right? On wood. Wood is the fuel for that fire. And unless they're feeding it continuous wood, then it's just coal. And then if it's in a pit, then it's on top of coal. It's burning in coal like a coal seam fire. You feel what I'm saying? But either way it go, we know that it's burning on coals, right? Because the organic material that fuels it is now turned into coals. You feel me? Especially if it's burning over a long period of time, or it's intended to burn for a long period of time, right? That might have been by design to put it in that pit and that around them coals so that they can produce a coal seam fire that can burn for a long period of time. All right, so now after many years, when they went back to go get the fire, they told them that they found no fire but thick water, right? And so Nehemiah takes this thick water and he purifies the sacrifice with it. And they say a very important prayer, a prayer that's geared towards restoration, repentance, right? Deliverance. You feel what I'm saying? So that's very important. Keep that in mind. Understand that. You feel me? So they purify the sacrifice with this substance, right? And they say that Nehemiah calls the substance naphthar. That is which to say a cleansing, but many men called it nephi. Remember I told you in the other versions they called it naphtha. Okay, we see that Nehemiah also commanded to take this substance and pour it on the great stones. And it said that when he did that, that the fire that was on the altar consumed the light from the great stones, right? It said when this was done, there was kindled a flame, but it was consumed by the light that shined from the altar. So it makes you think of the way you like you light stuff with gasoline. You know what I mean? If I pour gasoline near the fire will consume the area that I poured the gasoline on, right? Which is why that when that matter was made known, it was told to the king of Persia, you know, as if they had made like a very scientific or chemical discovery, right? And so that was honored and made, and it was made sacred by the king and enclosed, right? So that's very important. So I want to dig on this naphtha. Okay, so naphtha is a flammable liquid hydrocarbon mixture, all right? Very important. Mixtures labeled naphtha have been produced from natural gas condensate, petroleum distillates, and the distillation of coal tar and peat. In different industries and regions, naphtha may also be crude oil or refined products such as kerosene. Nephi, right? Nephi and naphthar are sometimes used as synonyms. It is known as shellite in Austria. Alright, peep game. The word naphtha is from Latin, derived from Middle Persian napht, wet, naphtha. The latter meaning of naphtha, which is an assimilation from the Akkadian naptu, see Semitic, such Arabic napht, petroleum, Syriac napht, and the Hebrew nepht, meaning petroleum. In ancient Greek, it was used to refer to any sort of petroleum or pitch. Right? Remember that? Pitch wood, gopher, right? So, alright, so peep that. Let's see what we want. Alright, the Greek word designates one of the materials used to stroke the fiery furnace in the songs of the three children. The translation of Charles Brenton renders this as rosin. The book of Malachi, second Maccabees, the book of Second Maccabees, right, which we just got, tells us how a thick water was put on a sacrifice at the time of Nehemiah, and when the sun shone, it caught fire. It adds that those around Nehemiah termed this naphthar, which means purification, but it is called naphthai by the many, right? See what I'm saying? The naphtha of antiquity is explained to be a highly flammable light fraction of petroleum, an extremely strong, volatile, strong-smelling gaseous liquid common in oil deposits of the Near East. It was a chief ingredient in incendiary devices described by Latin authors of the Roman period. Alright, so peep that. Remember what it said up here. In different industries and regions, naphtha may also be crude oil and refined products, such as kerosene, right? Naphtha, petroleum, right? Petroleum. Alright, let's dig on crude oil. Alright, crude oil is petroleum, right? Petroleum, also known as crude oil, or simply oil, is a natural occurring yellowish black liquid mixture of mainly hydrocarbons, alright, and is found in geological formations. The name petroleum covers both naturally occurring unprocessed crude oil and petroleum products that consist of refined crude oil, right? Alright, petroleum distillates. Okay, a fossil fuel, petroleum, is formed when large quantities of dead organisms, mainly zooplankton and algae, are buried underneath sedimentary rock and subjected to both prolonged heat and pressure. Alright. The word petroleum, medieval Latin, literally rock oil, right, which comes from Latin petra, rock, alright, and oleum, oil. Alright. Okay, so back over here to naphtha, right? Scroll down, right? Petroleum. In older usage, naphtha simply meant crude oil, right? Petroleum. But this usage is now obsolete in English, right? There are a number of cognates to the word in different languages, typically signifying petroleum or crude oil. Alright, so peep that, right? Even here, translation, naphtha, from Persian naft, meaning crude oil. So we talk about a time where our people are in Persia, you feel me, and they were calling this thing naphtha, right? Many men were calling it naphtha. We know we dealing with what? We dealing with petroleum. We're dealing with crude oil. Alright. Up here, solvent naphtha derived by fraction distillation from petroleum. Okay. Understand that. Or right here it says it enters the word napalm, a contraction of the naphthenic acid and the palm of the palmic acid, originally made from a mixture of naphthenic acid combined with aluminum and magnesium salts of palmic acid. It says naphtha is the root word for naphthalene and can also be recognized in the word phthalate and the paint color phthalo blue. Alright, so I want to build on this word naphthalene right here. Okay, it's important to understand this, right? Naphthalene, right? Naphthalene, right? Naphtha is the root of the word naphthalene. Naphthalene is an organic compound with the formula C10H8. It is the simplest polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon and is a white crystalline solid with a characteristic odor that is detectable at concentrations as low as 0.08 ppm by mass, right? As an aromatic hydrocarbon, naphthalene structure consists of a fused pair of benzene rings. It is best known as the main ingredient of traditional mothballs. Okay, so peep game, right? We are talking about the simplest polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. So it's the first one because it's the first one with the 2 benzene rings. It is the molecule of just 2 benzene rings. So it's the simplest polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, the first one, right? That's very important. Okay. In the early 1820s, 2 separate reports describe a white solid with a pungent odor derived from the distillation of coal tar. Alright, so peep that, right? Okay, so when we're dealing with coal tar, what we dealing with? We're dealing with a thick, dark liquid, which is a byproduct of the production of coke and coal gas from coal. Alright, it is a type of creosote, right? It has been it has both medicinal and industrial uses. Medicinally, it is a topical medication applied to the skin to treat cirrhosis and seborrheic dermatitis, right? It may be used in combination with ultra-light violet therapy. So that's very interesting because this stuff, right, has a lot to do with protecting the skin. Right, it is a complex mixture of phenols, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. All right, so now this is important because this is a thick, dark liquid. You feel me? Okay, so what you're looking at is the separation and purification of coal tar that isolates this particular compound. All right, so let's understand some things. Alright, so, what we're dealing with is we're dealing with a fire that has been burning for a long time on wood that is probably turned to coal in a hollow pit, probably denoting a place of coal. You feel me? And that when they went to go retrieve the fire after many years, there was only thick water left, right? Only thick water. So, when you think about, even when you look at the product of, the process of distillation, we talk about heating and refining substances, creating vapor, condensing that vapor back into a liquid. So we don't really know, but we can see that, possibly the components of the fire is what's creating this thick water, this substance. So we don't know if they burnt out and then that smoke, that vapor condensed back into that thick water, or if it's just a process of turning into petroleum, like the rest of the organic matter does, because we're already dealing with coal from the burning wood. You feel what I'm saying? So either way, we're dealing with this thick water that is a substance derived from the fire of the altar. So then when you look at the dark substance, a thick dark substance, a thick dark liquid that is coal tar, right? That is tar from coal that is produced from coal, from the heating, of coal and oil and things like that. It produces this coal tar. And then if you distill coal tar even further, right, you isolate this chemical known as naphthalene. Naphthalene, right, derived from the distillation of coal tar, right? But it is the simplest aromatic hydrocarbon, simplest polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, right? That's important for a very profound reason. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. A polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon is a class of organic compounds that is composed of multiple aromatic rings. Simplest representative, naphthalene, having 2 aromatic rings, and a 3-ring compound, atrazine and phenanthrene. PAs are uncharged, nonpolar, and planar. Many are colorless. Many of them are found in coal and oil deposits and are produced by the combustion of organic matter. For example, in engines and incinerators, when biomass burns in forest, or when biomass burns in forest fire. So this is what you got to understand. Anytime organic matter, right, vegetation, is being burned or heated, it is releasing these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Okay, then they tell you that polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are discussed as possibly starting materials for abiotic synthesis of materials required by the earliest forms of life. So they talking about these substances as the starting materials for life, for creation, right? So when we see the creator, right, the creator say that he will take his rest in his dwelling place, like a clear heat upon herbs, right? We know that, right, the heating of organic matter, organic vegetation, the combustion of organic matter is going to release polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. You feel me? And these things are responsible for the starter, these things are discussed as starting material for all life on earth. And so we see that these chemicals that we refer to as polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, we see that these things can be extracted from the wood of the fire, that was left by the priest. That thick, dark substance, that liquid that was used to purify the altar, was containing of aromatic hydrocarbons. And that's interesting because these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, they spawn a very interesting structure, which is the honeycomb. You feel me? When we're looking at the honeycomb structure, you feel me? That is the structure created by organic compounds such as the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. So when we're talking about gopher wood, right? And the gopher wood is the tree used by Noah to make the ark. And we see that the word gopher means honeycomb, waffle. They tell us that the two things are not the same, but they are. Because if we're dealing with gopher as honeycomb, and we know that the ark of made by Noah was to transport him from one place to the other, the honeycomb is all about fuel. We're dealing with benzene, the benzene ring, benzene ring, benzene ring, benzene ring. When we're dealing with benzene, understand we're dealing with benzene. Benzene is a natural constituent of crude oil, and is one of the elementary petrochemicals. Remember, it's the first. It is the first aromatic hydrocarbon. It has the benzene ring is named after benzene. You feel me? So we dealing with the key constituent to fuel, to petroleum, the crude oil, right? We're dealing with naphtha, naphthalene, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons that have a lot to do with fuel, right? Fuel is the power that provides the opportunity of transportation, taking things from one place to another. We're looking at gopher wood, right? That Noah's using to build the ark. And this word gopher, we're looking at it meaning honeycomb. And that's very important because even when we're looking at the aromatic hydrocarbon structure, remember we built on it in the Earthly Mother Angel video. That aromatic hydrocarbon is the Merkaba. It's the Merkaba structure. You feel me? When we look at the structure of the aromatic hydrocarbon, we see it's the same as the Merkaba. It is the Merkaba. And the Merkaba is used to transport the soul. It's the vehicle needed to transport the spirit, right? So here we go again with transportation, with what is needed to fuel something to get from point A to point B. And it has this hexagonal structure, this Merkaba-like aromatic hydrocarbon-like structure. And one thing we also know that the Merkaba and the Star of David are one and the same, right? The Merkava is the Star of David. But not only is the Merkava the Star of David, the Star of David is the honeycomb, right? The Star of David is the structure of the honeycomb. It's just inverted, right? So if you look inside the Star of David, you will always find a perfect honeycomb sitting in there looking right at you, right? And so you can see if you turn that honeycomb at what, I don't know, maybe just a 45 degree. If you turn it 45 degrees, it'll be the structure that we know of as the Star of David. So when you connect the dots, the points of the star, we dealing with the honeycomb, right? Just turned about 45 degrees. So one thing we got to understand, when we dealing with the honeycomb, when we dealing with this structure that is the Merkava, that is also the structure of the benzene ring, the aromatic hydrocarbon. What we understand is this is the symbol of creation. This is the symbol of the divine feminine. You feel me? The organic compounds of creation, man. That wisdom is stored in the honeycomb. It is encapsulated in the hexagonal structure. You feel me? Us as Israelites bearing the Star of David, we're literally wearing two honeycombs. You feel me? We're literally representing ourselves with two different honeycomb hexagonal structures, which are supposed to represent the divine feminine. We're supposed to be people, you feel me, that are zealous for the divine feminine, for creation, for the creator. Right? When we look at bees, bees store their honey in complete hexagonal structures. That's all they do. They make just hexagon. That's why we call it the honeycomb pattern, the honeycomb lattice. And when we look at bees run in a matriarchal society. They serve the queen. You feel me? Everything they do, it's about the queen. But this science, this wisdom left by this particular aspect in creation is to teach man to honor the divine feminine. One thing that we have to understand about spirituality, and spiritual warfare in particular, is that spiritual warfare is chemical warfare. You have to understand that. Chemical warfare is spiritual warfare. The brain is full of different chemical processes, emotions that spring from chemical process. If a person can chemically influence you in a way that can affect your mood, your anger, all of those things. So when we look at a lot of spiritual warfare that we see today, people, demonic possessions, a lot of things of those nature, a lot of that can be tied right back to chemical warfare. You feel me? Just even with just witchcraft and a lot of root work, but it's a lot of programming of chemicals to do that will, to operate that way, right? Even when we look at spiritual things, we say we have a spiritual connection with the person, we'll also say you and that person had chemistry, right? Because the spirit world is the chemical world, right? Let's understand something. Okay, you ever peeped how, like, whenever you would see like a force field or some type of force field or something like that, it would have this hexagonal structure? That's because chemistry is the veil. This hexagonal structure is the veil between the seen and the unseen. And to look into chemistry is to look into the unseen, right? Reason why they can go and look in the magnifying glass and look at the molecular structure of chemicals that you can't see with the naked eye, but have a tremendous effect on the seen world. You feel me? So understand that. So understand when we're looking at these organic compounds, these carbon-based hydrocarbons that provide this hexagonal honeycomb structure. Understand to look into these things is to look into the veil, into the force field, and into the unseen, right? To understand how that unseen world influences the seen world is a lot to do with chemistry, a lot to do with the alchemy, right? Okay, so when we dealing with the cedar, the gopher wood, the honeycomb tree, the tree of life, the tree of creation, the tree of purification, the tree that brings us back until the respecting and honoring of creation, the divine feminine, right? So we can understand, right, and build this connection between the seen and the unseen. You feel what I'm saying? We can look into that hidden world and understand why things are the way they are, and have the wisdom so that we can build these civilizations that are harmonious to creation. Right? This is also very important to understand because our enemy likes to do a lot of his wickedness, his spiritual wickedness, through chemistry. And the fact that we don't understand that that's what it is, we don't know how to properly combat it, right? Or we'll think, oh, well, if we want to, we want to, cleanse the negative energy out, we'll burn some sage. And what are we doing? We're releasing these aromatic hydrocarbons into the atmosphere so that they can go to war. It's spiritual warfare. That's why I say spiritual warfare is chemical warfare, right? And you have a lot of the enemy doing a lot of wickedness based on chemistry, which is, again, like I say, kindling the anger of the Lord, because they're not honoring the divine feminine, right? The honeycomb, right? They're taking this wisdom, they're taking this knowledge, and they're being very corrupt with it. Okay, so just want to reiterate that us that are claiming to be of the nation of Israel, and for those who claim this symbol, and I know it's demonized, and people feel like it's a demonic symbol, but when you look at it and you understand the science of the ancients, we're only dealing with the honeycomb. That's all it is the hexagonal structure of the honeycomb, the Merkabah, which is the symbol of creation, of life, of transporting the soul. You feel me? So as those of us that ascribe to this symbol and the doctrines of this symbol, if you wear this, you are supposed to be the righteous zealots on earth that bring the knowledge of the divine feminine, true science, true chemistry to the planet. That you can build harmonious civilizations with that and not have wicked chemistry that's ultimately contaminating the planet and leading us to destruction. Because remember, I told you, a chemical compound is nothing but a vehicle for a spiritual or unseen force to ride in to do its work. You feel what I'm saying? So that's why I say our enemy does a lot of his wickedness through chemistry, creating a lot of inorganic compounds, and a lot of wickedness in chemistry that doesn't do anything but create a vehicle for negative forces to come and do their bidding into the earth. That's why, like I say, we as people who subscribe to this doctrine need to understand that we're representing the honeycomb, and that we as a collective are to provide a chemical structure that'll be a vehicle for the Most High to ride in. Remember, that's what the purified substance is all about, because that purified substance contains that chemical with the right structure and composition that allows it to be a vehicle for the divine creator's energy to use to do its correcting and restoring in the earth. One thing we have to understand in order to decode the wisdom left behind by the ancestors is we got to tap into the perspective that they have concerning the creator, right? And that perspective that they have on the creator will give us insight into the things they wrote, about his wrath, about his anger and emotions and things of that nature. So it's very important to tap into that perspective. And one thing we understand about the perspective our ancestors had on the creator is that they viewed the creator as a very real part of nature, right? Almost, dwelling in creation. And from that, what we have to understand is that the relationship between man and God is very similar to the symbiotic relationship between man and a tree, right? Meaning that man inhales oxygen and exhales carbon dioxide. A tree inhales carbon dioxide and exhales oxygen. So, we have that symbiotic relationship there. Well, when you really understand, man and the creator is the same way. If you remember in the beginning, the Most High blew the breath of life into man. Adam breathed it in and became a living soul. So we know, obviously, the creator must have exhaled oxygen for the Most High. For Adam to inhale and become a living soul. It activated something. We know oxygen carries that prana, that life force, through the atmosphere. So that's an interesting thing to look at. We know, it seems that the creator has exhaled oxygen into the nostrils of man. Man have inhaled it, and started the process of breathing. What's also interesting to understand about this relationship is that, whenever Israel would make an offering, a sacrifice to the Most High, it would always be referred to as a sweet savor, right? Here we see, it said, the Lord smelled the sweet savor and said in his heart that he would not again curse the ground. So he repented, right? And even in the Israelite science and cosmology concerning the priesthood, the whole purpose of, not the whole purpose, but one of the main purpose of the offerings we give is to give this sweet savor to the Creator to appease his anger for some sin that, has occurred. So, what we see is we tend to give these offerings to the Creator that he calls and refers to as a sweet savor, and they tend to appease his anger at times, right? You give these offerings, right? Offering, and it shall be a sweet savor, an offering made by fire of the Lord, right? An offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord, right? Well, one thing we know that anytime that organic matter is being burned, we know that aromatic hydrocarbons are being released. All right. So, many of the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are found in coal and oil deposits, right? It said, and are also produced by the combustion of organic matter. For example, in engines and incinerators, or when biomass burns in a forest fire. So when we talking about burnt offerings and things of that nature to provide a sweet savor unto the Most High, we're releasing carbon into the atmosphere. Let me bring you over here to hydrocarbon combustion real quick. It says hydrocarbon combustion refers to the chemical reaction where a hydrocarbon reacts with oxygen to create carbon dioxide, water, and heat. Hydrocarbons are molecules consisting of both hydrogen and carbon. They are most famous for being the primary constituents of fossil fuels, namely natural gas, petroleum, and coal. For this reason, fossil fuel resources are often referred to as hydrocarbon resources. Energy is obtained from fossil fuels through combustion, burning of the fuel, right? So understand this. Anytime you are burning organic matter, you're releasing these aromatic hydrocarbons into the atmosphere. When you do that, hydrocarbon combustion takes place, where the hydrocarbon is going to react with the oxygen and it's going to create carbon dioxide. So you see here, you see the hydrocarbon methane, right? Carbon hydrogen, right? CH4. Right. When it's released into the atmosphere, it's going to meet with oxygen. Here's two oxygen molecules. What that creates is carbon dioxide and water, right? Vapor. You know what I mean? So, anytime you, burn organic matter, you're releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So understanding that, when we give these offerings to the Creator, He always breathes them and accepts them as a sweet savor and has the ability to affect his mood, his anger, repent him of the evil that he's considering, the destruction he's considering bringing upon man. So again, you have to really consider the nature of the relationship between God and man, being very similar to the relationship between man and the tree, right? Because here we see the Creator exhaling oxygen, you feel me, into the nostrils of man, right? Man breathing that, becoming a living soul. But then you also see man offering sacrifices and creating carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that the Most High is then inhaling, you feel me, and deeming as a sweet savor. So we see that the Most High is really like a tree, but the Most High is a real part of nature. He is in creation, right? Exhaling the oxygen, inhaling the carbon dioxide. All right, man. So, when we understand the Creator, from that perspective, the perspective that our indigenous ancestors would have perceived the Creator of creation, the fashioner of the physical world, you know what I'm saying? When we understand the Creator from that perspective as a real intricate part of nature, it makes it easy for us to see what our ancestors were saying when they were writing about his wrath. You feel what I'm saying? And the kindling of his anger. Right. So what I want to do, man, I want to come over here to Psalms 18. This is a chapter that we've touched on before. You know what I mean? It got kind of real, but I have to come back on it because I don't really think people understand what this chapter is telling us, you know what I mean? So we're going to break it down. I'm going to read it first and then we're going to break it down. Because it's very deep, man. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Psalms 18. The Lord is my rock and my fortress. To the chief musician, the Psalm of David, the servant of the Lord, who spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies, and from the hand of Saul. And he said, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength in whom I will trust, my buckler, and the horn of my salvation, and my tower. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised, so that I be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me. The floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even in his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills were moved and shaken, because he was wroth. Alright. It said, there went up smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yeah, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of skies. At the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed, hailstones and coals of fire. He sent out arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomfited them. Then channels of waters were seen, and the foundation of the world were discovered at thy rebuke, O Lord, at the blast of the breath of thy nostrils. And we'll stop there. Okay, man. So, when building on this chapter, in those few verses, I know it can seem like a lot of mythical allegory and stuff like that. But honestly, I believe there's a very powerful hidden mystery in this chapter that needs to be considered. And I know, last time on my cherubim video, we kind of talked about the misinterpretations of this chapter. But right now, I believe that we really need to understand what's hidden in these verses. So what we're dealing with here is the wrath of a vengeful creator at the heed of the righteous. Right? David is called and cried unto the Most High in his distress, because he is surrounded by wickedness. And the Most High hears that cry and comes from his temple. And then we are presented with a brightly painted depiction of what that process is like. Again, like I say, when we understand the perception the ancients had on the Creator, we understand that their depiction of his anger has a lot to do with natural catastrophe, planetary phenomenon. One in particular we like to refer to as climate change, global warming, right? The result of the excessive emissions of greenhouse gases from distilling products that we've been talking about today, the naphtha, you feel me, the crude oil, the petroleum, you feel me, refining these things so that we can fuel society, empower society, sending excessive amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, thus trapping heat into the planet, heating up the planet, and then causing all kind of sporadic weather patterns. This planetary cataclysm is what the ancients are depicting here as the wrath of the Creator. Alright? It say, then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of the hills moved and were shaken, because he was wroth. Alright? Peep game. We know what that's talking about. It said, there went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. Okay, so let's understand something. Smoke is going out of his nostrils, right? So remember we were just talking about the Most High, like a tree. We know, cause trees exhale oxygen, inhale carbon dioxide. But we know trees also, exhale, a group of organic compounds. They exhale that smoke, like the trees of the Smoky Mountains. And that smoke is full of volatile organic compounds. Okay, so keep this in mind. Smoke went up out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. So we talking about excessive heat coming out, right, of his mouth, right? And then coals being kindled by it. So coals being heated by this excessive heat that's hitting. Now that process is going to release carbon into the atmosphere. We already know from hydrocarbon combustion, when carbon is released, it's going to bind with oxygen and it's going to create carbon dioxide, which is going to trap heat, which is going to heat up the planet. So we got smoke coming out the nostrils of the Creator, right, full of organic compounds. And then fire that is heating things up and devouring and kindling coals that are sending carbon in the atmosphere to bind with the oxygen, creating more carbon dioxide, heating things up even more. It says he bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. If he's coming from the heavens and he's coming down, and darkness is under his feet. Why is darkness up under his feet, right? Is that because there is an excessive amount of carbon in the atmosphere, right? When we know carbon is black, coal, pure carbon, right? Dark, black. You feel me? It says, and he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yeah, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. Okay, so we already broke this down in my cherub video. What is a cherub? A cherub is an aromatic hydrocarbon. You feel me? An organic compound. They fly because they're volatile, right? They're volatile organic compounds. They ride upon the wings of the wind because they're being dispersed by diffusion. You feel what I'm saying? So these are the chemicals, the natural chemicals, the earthly mother's angels that are being dispatched and spread about by the wind via diffusion. You feel what I'm saying? So understand that. Okay, so it said he rode upon a cherub. Like I told you, chemicals are vehicles for forces, spiritual unseen forces, to do their work upon the physical realm. You feel what I'm saying? So understand that we're talking about an angry God that is heating up the planet, heating up coals. You feel what I'm saying? Emitting volatile organic compounds out of his nostrils. You feel me? Moving upon the aromatic hydrocarbons that's being released by this process. It said he made darkness his secret place. Okay, remember his dwelling, right? We're talking about darkness. We're talking about carbon. You feel me? It says his pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of sky. All right. When I think about dark waters, I think about hydrocarbon. Because when we're dealing with hydrocarbon, we're dealing with carbon and hydrogen. We know hydrogen is from hydro, water, right? Carbon is carbon, coal, dark, black. You feel me? So when you look at dark waters, dark water is a result of carbon or organic matter in the water, like phenols and terpenes and stuff like that, that give the water that dark color. So we see the combination of the carbon and the hydrogen. So the Most High is telling you that he made darkness his secret place, and his pavilion round about him were dark waters. You feel me? That's another indication of the presence of the Creator within the hydrocarbon. You feel me? That's why this chemical is so important, right? Okay, these hydrocarbon substances, like the petroleum, and coal and things like that, that come from the decayed matter of life on Earth, is what fuels society and powers society. You know what I'm saying? So, right here it says in thick clouds of skies. So understand something. When we're dealing with the aromatic hydrocarbon, we know a lot of time we're dealing with it from the aspect of the smoke, right? The smoke that's emitted. But even when you think about a hydrocarbon, when you think about carbon, right? Hot coal, hot coal. And you think about hydrogen, water. When that heat and that water meet, you have what is vapor, clouds, mist, things of that nature. So, so understand that as well, right? And the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed, hailstones and coals of fire. The Lord also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave us his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. So understand the sporadic weather. You feel what I'm saying? That the ancients are talking about, right? He sent out his arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomforted them. All right, so peep game. One thing you got to understand is the reason why the ancients say he shot out his lightnings and discomforted them. All right, man. So understand, climate change and global warming or whatever is already a problem, based on what man himself is doing, right? Based on him, sucking the blood out of the earth, to fuel and power his civilization, and polluting the atmosphere with gases that trap heat, right? So with that being said, and that it's already a problem based on what man is doing alone. When you look at things like the forest fires and the fires out west and stuff like that, these fires can be caused by a strike of lightning. But you got to remember, anytime organic matter is being burned, aromatic hydrocarbons, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are being released. You feel what I'm saying? So this is creating its own situation because it's releasing its own abundance of carbon into the atmosphere without man doing anything. You feel me? So the fact that we're speeding up the process with what we're doing, things like this is a problem. But again, this is being done because the anger of the Lord is being kindled in the earth. Right? So it says, then the channels of water were seen, and the foundations of the world were discovered at thy rebuke. Like, think about that. Like, the channels of the water were seen, right? So when you think about a channel, like, this can be interpreted many ways, but when you think about a channel of a river, that's like about the deepest part. You know what I mean? So we're talking about the exposing of channels and the foundations of the world being discovered. We're talking about a lot, we're talking about drought. You feel me? We're talking about the affecting of the waterways and things like that, that these catastrophes and this excess of heat has on the planet. You feel me? It said these things were discovered, O Lord, at the blast of the breath of thy nostrils, right? At this heat, that is being shot to the planet based on the wrath of the Creator. Alright, so coming back over here to Second Maccabees. Remember when Nehemiah, when they discovered the thick liquid from the fire that they called naphtha? Remember, it said Nehemiah called it naphthar, which is as much as to say a cleansing. But many men called it nephi. So he called it naphthar, which means a cleansing. Now, what I find interesting about that is when we're dealing with cleansing, like for him to say naphthar, and for the writers of that scripture to say that it meant cleansing is interesting, because when we look at the word cleansing as it's used in the scripture, for the first multiple verses that is being used, it's mainly dealing with skin. You feel me? Skin conditions, the healing of leprosy, and the cleansing of leprosy, the cleansing of the scab of the skin and stuff like that. That's very interesting to me. Okay, the word they were using for cleansing, they were referring to naphtha, right? Right here, it says, a mixture labeled naphtha have been produced from natural gas condensate, petroleum distillates, and the distillation of coal tar. Okay, remember, coal tar is a thick, dark liquid like they found, right? But the crazy thing about coal tar is it got medicinal topical uses that apply to the skin to treat psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, you feel me, dandruff, and it may be used in combination with ultraviolet light therapy. So, we're talking about like healing the skin the same way it was talking about when you use the word cleansing in the scripture, right? So that's weird. But what you got to understand is Nehemiah understood something that we need to understand, right? And like I said, we're talking about the kindling of the anger of the Lord as this planetary phenomenon that we know of as global warming and climate change, right? Let's come over here to Malachi chapter 4, the great day of the Lord, right? So what it says, it says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven." Okay? So we already know what we're talking about. Off the rip, we're talking about global warming. We're talking about climate change, right? And all the proud, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the sun, the sun, of righteousness arise with healing in its wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I command unto him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I send you the prophet. Behold, I send you Elijah the prophet before the coming and great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come smite the earth with a curse. Alright, so understand that we're talking about a day of great heat, a day that shall burn as an oven. You feel me? And it shall burn the wicked up. You feel me? So what we got to understand is Nehemiah understood that the very thing that plagued the earth and powered itself off sucking the blood out of the earth, being a parasite, disrespecting the mother, that was going to be the same thing that ultimately cleansed that parasite from being able to do so. It is these hydrocarbon substances, the coal, the petroleum, that fuels and powers society. And it will be ultimately the same thing that destroys it. Alright, so we over here at Deuteronomy chapter 32 again. Remember we got verse 2 earlier. We want to jump down to verse 13. We're going to get 13 through 26. Alright, it says, He made him to ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the field. Right, talking about Israel. Talking about Jeshua. It say, and he made him to suck the honey out of the rock, and the oil out of the flinty rock. Now, based on my interpretation, I look at this a certain way, because we know that petroleum means rock oil, right? Oil of the rock. You feel me? Petroleum, rock oil. So, I look at that a certain way. As well, we talking about we talking about honey, we talking about the honeycomb, and all these things, the honey out of the rock. I look at that a certain way as well. But also, it also makes me think of amber, because amber is found in coal a lot. But amber was some of the first sources of electricity. So, just think about that, right? It says butter of kind, milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And thou didst drinketh the pure blood of grapes. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat. Thou art grown thick. Thou art covered with fatness. For he forsook God which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. Alright, it said, they provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrifice unto devils, not to God. To gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came up newly, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat thee thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten the God that formed thee. And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred it, because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities. I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell. Alright, peep that. For fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn to the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with their increases, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spin my arrows upon them. Right? They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both man and the virgin, the suckling also, the man of gray hairs. I will scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from amongst man. Okay, so what we look at is what we're looking at is the Creator has provided, right? The Creator has provided everything. I mean, the fat of rams, lambs, the wine galore, milk, man, honey out of the rock, oil out of the flinty rock. You know what I mean? So the Creator has provided to children. These children have become spoiled, and they have waxen fat, right? And they begin to go astray. You feel me? And they begin to kindle the anger of the Lord, kindle a fire that wax hot in the Creator, right? Because they have forgotten to honor the mother. There is no divine femininity, right? It is all take. You feel me? There's no giving. There is no contraction, right? Something we're gonna build on in a second. But we got to understand that the Most High's anger has waxed hot because of the transgression of the inhabitants of earth, right? To become spoiled and greedy, and not honor the mother that have provided these things. All right, so that comes back to honoring the divine feminine. The Most High's anger has waxed hot because man has failed to honor and respect the divine feminine. You feel what I'm saying? When you understand the divine feminine and the divine masculine, you're dealing with expansion and contraction, right? The masculine is the expansion, the feminine is contraction. This is life. This is the key of life. What you find in creation in the universe is that creation is just a dance between masculine and feminine energies, right? The heartbeat, the doom, is expansion and contraction. The breath, the inhale, the exhale, is expansion and contraction. The problem with the world today is that there is no divine feminine energy. There's no honoring of the divine feminine energy. There's no contraction. There is only expansion. You feel me? That's what happens when you have a capitalistic society. You feel me? It's all about produce, capitalize, expand, harvest, reap. There's no contraction. There's no brakes being put on that. There's no time of giving. It's just take, expand. This is a very unhealthy process. Even we see that the Most High gives us a Sabbath, meaning that He wants us to work, create, all those days of the week. But at one day of the week, we have to honor the divine feminine. We have to contract. We got to chill. You feel me? That's a part of life. Like I told you, the breath is expansion and contraction. There is no life without the breath. There's no life without the heartbeat. That's expansion and contraction. So we need both. But the problem in this world is that there is only expansion. You feel me? There is really no contraction. There's no divine feminine. There's no giving of love. You know what I mean? So, that's why the Most High is angry. Because all we do is take, when the Creator had done nothing but provide. So that's problematic. Alright, so I want to bring y'all over here to Isaiah 14, right? Because I want to show you the switcheroo. When we're dealing with Western, ideology, and even, a lot of the Bible from the perspective of a lot of people who teach it, it has a very masculine undertone. Everything is masculine. God is a man. It's a lot of masculine energy, right? But what I want to show you is how they try to hit us with this little switcheroo, right? And it's important that we catch it, right? So we have we had Isaiah 14:12, right? It says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer," right? "Son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakens the nation? For thou said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the isles of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Okay? Well, let's understand something real quick. Lucifer is one of the various figures in folklore associated with the planet Venus. Okay? Or because the planet Venus is known as the morning star, right? The morning star. Alright, Venus is the second planet from the sun and is named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty, right? Jumping down here, it says, as one of the brightest objects in the sky, Venus has been a major fixture in human culture for as long as records have existed. It has been made sacred to gods of many cultures and has been a prime inspiration for writers and poets as the morning star and evening star. Right, Venus was the first planet to have its motions plotted across the sky. Alright, so very important. Venus is very important, and we're going to get into why in a second. But Venus is referred to as the morning star, the evening star. Okay, when you get into, Venus, what you realize is Venus is a depiction and a symbol for the divine feminine, which is why it was named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty. So that goddess represents the principle of the divine feminine. Okay, so understand something, right? So they tell us that Lucifer is associated with the planet Venus and is referred to as the morning star. But the planet Venus is associated with the divine feminine. When we look at what's being said here in these scriptures, right? How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground that weakens the nation? Look at what he's saying. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation. I will ascend to the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. All of that is expansion. All of that is masculine energy. I will expand. You feel me? I will exalt my throne above the stars. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. All of that is expansion. All of that is overly excessively masculine energy. That has nothing to do with divine feminine. So why would Lucifer be associated with Venus? Venus associated with the divine feminine. But this energy of Lucifer is only dealing with expansive energy. The planet Venus is represented as the divine feminine for a very important reason. This planet is literally a message, a ministry to planet Earth to always honor and respect the divine feminine. Alright, that's what we have to understand about the planet Venus. That's why Venus is always associated with the goddess of love and beauty, or of war and love, because it's representing the divine feminine. Alright, and so let's understand why that is. I'm gonna jump down here to this second paragraph right here. It says it's the third smallest planet in the solar system. Venus is a terrestrial planet and is sometimes called Earth's sister planet. Okay, keep that in mind because of their similar size, mass, proximity to the sun, and bulk composition. It is radically different from Earth in other respects. It has the densest atmosphere of the 4 terrestrial planets, consisting of more than 96% of carbon dioxide. Understand this. Venus has more than 96% of carbon dioxide in its atmosphere. It says the atmospheric pressure at the planet's surface is about 92 times the sea level pressure of Earth, or roughly the pressure at 900 meters underwater on Earth. Even though Mercury is closer to the Sun, Venus has the hottest surface of any planet in the solar system, with a mean temperature of 737 K. Nigga, that's 867 degrees Fahrenheit. Venus is shrouded by an opaque, I don't know how to pronounce that, opaque layer of highly reflective clouds of sulfuric acid, preventing its surface from being seen from Earth in light. It may, check this out, this is very important, it may have had water oceans in the past, but after these evaporated, the temperature rose under a runaway greenhouse effect. I peeped that. So they're saying Venus may have had oceans at one point, but they evaporated when the temperature rose due to this runaway greenhouse effect, right? Remember, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Venus has more than 96% of Venus' atmosphere is composed of carbon dioxide. It says the water has probably photodesiccated and the free hydrogen has been swept into interplanetary space by the solar wind because of the lack of a planetary magnetic field. Because of the lethal surface condition, the planet is sometimes referred to as Earth's evil twin. Okay, so understand this. Okay, I'm going to jump down here, right? Because in physical characteristics, it says because of its runaway greenhouse effect, Venus has been identified by scientists such as Carl Sagan as a warning and research object linked to climate change on the Earth. So let's understand something. Venus has already been where Earth is going. That's why it's a warning. It's a message, right? Venus has 96% of its atmosphere contaminated with a greenhouse gas that traps heat, making it the hottest planet of the terrestrial planets, made it the hottest planet, the hottest surface of any planet in the solar system. That's why it's called a bright morning star, you know, because you can see it. It's so hot. You know what I mean? It's so vibrant. You feel what I'm saying? So what we have to understand about Venus is that the divine feminine has left the planet Venus, right? Remember what it said. It may have had water oceans in the past, but they evaporated due to the rising of temperatures, right? The water has probably dissociated and the free hydrogen has been swept into interplanetary space. When we're dealing with hydrogen, we're dealing with hydrogen, we're dealing with water. Water is represented by the divine feminine. You feel me? The divine feminine has left the planet Venus. That's the big message. That's the hidden wisdom. So, you know, whatever has taken place on this planet, or whether it's just the fact that it is to minister to Earth, this situation, but whatever has taken place on this planet has caused the divine feminine to leave that planet. And so that planet has heated up. It became overly masculine, overly hot, overly expansive, causing the divine feminine, the water, to leave, right? And this is exactly what's going on planet Earth. You feel me? We are undergoing a process where we are contaminating the atmosphere with greenhouse gases, right? Due to our disrespect and disregard for the divine mother, right? Sucking the blood out of the mother, you feel me? To fuel our toxic civilizations. You feel what I'm saying? And we are destroying the water on the planet. Not even the water, just creation. But we know that a lot of our fresh water is drying up. You feel me? And the divine feminine is getting ready to leave planet Earth. And feminine is being, Venus is being represented by the divine feminine to betray this message to us that this is what will happen if you do not honor the divine feminine. All right, so it's very important for us to tap into the wisdom of our ancestors, our ancestral traditions and spiritual systems, to understand the wisdom they left behind about working with these divine forces of creation like water. So we don't do something as foolish as to allow the divine feminine to leave us in its many forms, and one of those forms is the water, the fresh water. And one of the way our ancestors personified this divine force in creation is through the deity Oshun, right? How many of y'all know about Oshun? You should know about Oshun. You feel me? Oshun is commonly called the river Orisha, or goddess, in the Yoruba religion, and is typically associated with water, purity, fertility, love, and sensuality. She is considered one of the most powerful Orishas, right? They say, right, she's the goddess of divinity, femininity, right? So we're talking about the divine feminine, right? The goddess of water, Oshun. We're talking about the divine feminine in the water, the divine force that is water, being merged into this concept that we know of as Oshun. All right, man. So real quick, I want to come over here, man, and get two clips real quick. First, I want to play this video, the archetype of Oshun and the divine feminine. And then I'm gonna get just 5 minutes out of this earth and water reverence story of Oshun leaving the earth. Alright, by this priestess, I believe her name is, how do you say it, Louisa, Tish. I believe she's from New Orleans, you know what I mean? But very profound sister, man, brilliant in understanding this wisdom and knowledge, as well as that was preserved by the ancestors. So, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna get this one right here first.
Within the sacred orature of the Yoruba diaspora, we have an amazing story called Osheotura. Okay, and in Osheotura, what happens is all these deities come down from the heavenly realm onto the planet Earth, right? And the dominant ones, the ones who are doing the most, are Obatala, the Lord of the King of the White Cloth, the Lord of the Clouds, the one who molds the child in the womb and sets the ethical standards. We have Ogun, who is the tool maker and the wild man in the woods. And we have Shango, who is the Lord of the Flame and political organization. and the ego of the human being. Okay, and they come down with Oshun, who is the goddess of love and sweet water and sensuality and compassion and all of that. And in the folklore, when they start out trying to create the world, one of the male deities makes some comment to the effect that they really don't need Oshun. Okay. And she's very sensitive to insult, by the way, you know. So Oshun decides, oh, well, you'll see. And she goes and she sits on the moon and spends time looking in the mirror and powdering her face, you know. And while she does that, all the sweet water on the earth dries up. And they can't do nothing. You know, they can't build no houses. They can't make no tools. They can't grow no food. They can't create nothing. Nothing is working because love has left the planet. Okay? And when they realize that nothing is working, they run back up to Olodumare, the one who owns the whole spectrum of the rainbow, the owner of the day. And they complain. You know, what you sent us down here for if we can't accomplish nothing, right? And Olodumare says, somebody's missing from this crew that I sent down there. Where is Oshun? And the comment was made, well, you know, who needs her? And that's when Olodumare summons Oshun from her resting place where she's just, you know, kicking back, waiting for them to recognize what's happening. When she arrives, she explains that they insulted her. They were stupid enough to think they didn't need fresh water. They didn't need sensuality. They didn't need love. And so the Most High makes them apologize to her, okay? And I love this part, you know, in the Odu, it says, she accepted their apology and she told them, don't let it happen again. Okay. And as a result of that, she had to decide whether she wanted to be bothered again. And so she turned herself on herself and gave birth to Elegba. Now, I want to say very, very clearly that Oshe Otura is a very, very important story in my tradition. All of the stories we see, when they hit the tray, when they arrive in front of us, we look for the manifestation of the story around us. To have Oshun leave us is a very, very dangerous thing, okay? And we see it in things like fracking. What's happening to our water supply? We see it in things like the way that they are raping the queen bee. Honey is sacred to Oshun. We see it in the sex trafficking of children that's going on this planet. All of these things we read as signs that we done pissed Oshun off. Okay? And so for the last 10 or 12 years, there have been priests all over the world going to the river, going to places where the river's dry, and making offerings and begging Oshun to come back to us. All of this is about wanting to recognize the power of the divine feminine.
In this similar vein of necessity or crisis driving connection, I wonder if you could share how Ifa Orisha tradition, as a tradition with deep understanding of the forces of nature, how the tradition might diagnose our current ecological crisis.
Ooh, we in trouble, y'all.
Are there stories that speak to that? Are there how to begin to conceive it?
Oh, we in so much trouble, y'all. The ancestors are pissed. They are really pissed because, you know, they are reborn through us. and we're messing up the place that they want to come back to. That's one of the things. I was talking to a Congolese brother a while back who said that, you know, the problems with the ozone layer was interfering with messages that we were supposed to be receiving. We have had over the last 5 or 6 years priestesses of Oshun who've entered the waters of the river, the Oshun River in Oshobo, priestesses of in Venezuela and in Cuba, in places, who go into the water and who come out in trance saying that Oshun has said that if we don't clean up our act, she will leave us, you know. Now this is a famous Odu, Oshe Otura, where Oshun left the earth and everything dried up. We are receiving very, very clear instructions around what kind of things we have to do to not have Iya leave us. I want you to imagine, to realize that only 2% of the water on the face of the earth is fresh water. Only 2%. 3/4 of that is caught up in icebergs. Imagine for a minute what would happen if all the sweet water left the earth. It's over, okay? Know that we look at the situation that our drinking water, we're now in a place where people are buying water in a bottle. We're in a place where life-giving water is being diverted to decorative fountains instead of people's farms. We are, you know, in places where entire villages are being denied water. And so-called bee farmers are actually raping the queen bee. Honey, which is sacred to Oshun, is being contaminated with sugar water. The bugs, especially the bees who cross-pollinate our food, is being killed off. Outfits like Monsanto is creating frankenfood that kills its own offspring. The genetic modification of human beings and plants and animals is going on. It is like this insanity has to be stopped, lest we wipe ourselves out as a species. Because one of the things I learned a long time ago, the earth can do without us. She don't really need us, you know what I'm saying? And so we have priests all over the world who are leading rituals where we are singing and dancing and praying and placating the waters. I know that that's going on regularly in New Orleans because people do not want another Hurricane Katrina. You know, it is going on in places that have been hit by tsunami. I just heard that there was trash from the Japan tsunami that hit this coast, and that the trash itself was almost as big as the state of Texas. Just, I mean, trying to imagine that is mind-boggling for me.
Okay, man. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope that was very insightful. So you can see, just how real things is and what we really need to be doing with the wisdom that we are acquiring from the ancients. We really got to get our planet in order. we kind of, mind boggle ourselves with these things that really don't have no weight in reality. But the truth of the matter is, our planet is in a very dire situation. And, there's things we need to do, as planet keepers, right? The anger of the Lord is kindled in the earth. You feel me? And destruction, is coming about it. I want to build on something that the sister said, man, cause, this is near and dear to me. The sister, referred to, the ritual work that was being done in Louisiana to prevent another Katrina. And I have to, I got to speak on this real quick because, if anybody know me, I love Louisiana. I'm a Florida boy through and through. But I'm a swamp baby. I was raised around the swamps, so that whole swamp alligator culture, I love that. So, I love Louisiana because it's all about, just the swamp, everything like that. I just love Louisiana, man. I don't know what it is about it. I just got a lot of love for Louisiana. One of my favorite places, to travel, to go. But when you look at what's going on, we have to understand that the anger of the Lord has been kindled in that region. When you look at the hurricanes that brew, out in the ocean, it almost seems like a lot of them come straight for Louisiana. You feel me? Right for that area. It's like Louisiana can't catch a break. You feel me? But when you understand what's going on in that area, you understand why the anger of the Lord is being kindled. For one, this region of Louisiana, this southern coast right here, this Gulf Coast, as well as the southern east coast of Texas, this is the area where your most petroleum refinery plants are. So this is where a lot of the oil, the blood that's being sucked out of the earth is being refined and distilled into distillates. So, when you understand what's going on in this region, you see that man has completely levied the Mississippi River through Louisiana. It is completely levied, to the point where it cannot empty into its tributaries like it used to. You know what I mean? It used to bring sediment all the way from the top of the country. And that sediment would empty at the delta and through all the tributaries, the Atchafalaya Basin and all of that, and it would help create and nourish the swamp. So they've levied the Mississippi River in Louisiana to where it's now just a canal. It can't empty into its tributaries, so the swamp isn't getting fed with that nutrients that is used to being nourished with. So the swamp is dying. You feel me? Not only that, but you have literally sold up the Mississippi River like a canal. That's like almost like closing up somebody's bladder. And they got to pee real bad. You feel what I'm saying? So now nature has to correct man's wrong and send storms over there to flood the land like it should be. Because all that water is being held up and congested there. It can't empty out. Brother, that is like, to do that, you have to be insane. You feel me? The love of the mother is not in you. You don't honor the mother. Righteous indigenous people would have never sold up a river completely from being able to empty into its tributaries. You feel me? See, these are the things that man and later man are doing on the planet that's kindling the anger of the Lord. You feel me? Not only that, but you got oil companies drilling into the marshland on the coast of Louisiana, that's causing salt water to come into the freshwater marsh, killing the marsh. Louisiana is losing about 25 square feet or something like that, like an acre of land an hour or something, like a football field an hour. They're losing a football field an hour and 25 square miles off its coast every year, something like that. Bro, that is crazy. We talking about at the womb, at the delta. We talking about respecting the mother, and look what they're doing at the womb, at the delta. Like, come on, bro. And we can't understand why this place is getting hit with storm after storm. You feel me? The anger of the Lord is kindled in the region because of the lack of harmony. You feel me? That the inhabitants of earth are engaged in this region. And who is there to appease the anger of these divine forces? And I got to call out a lot of these fake priests, you feel me, that claim that they priestess of Oshun and priestess of Yemiya. Let me help you understand something, man. Even when you're looking at the Bible, one thing about a God, even one thing about a woman, they're going to tell you how to appease their anger. In our scripture, we have rituals. We have rituals of atonement to appease the anger. The Most High has told us, look, this is what you need to do when you piss me off so that I don't destroy this mother. You feel me? Woman is the same way. A woman will teach you how to appease her anger. You keep making a man, you keep doing this, she'll tell you what to do to get back in good standards, you know what I mean? To appease that anger, to mend the relationship. It's the same way with the Creator. So we got all these people that are claiming to be priestess of this divine force, priestess of that divine force, but you have not obtained the wisdom from these forces on how to appease their anger. You feel me? Storm after storm, calamity after calamity is being sent by these divine forces that you are claiming to be priestess of, but you're not telling us what to do to appease the anger. You're not warning us of the destruction that's coming. Like the elders say, they got priestess out there doing ritual to help prevent these things. Like, how many of you are really doing that and getting that wisdom and that information that these forces are pissed and that the anger needs to be appeased? I don't see a lot of these claiming to be priests and priestesses do. You know, if there were, there would be a lot of healing in the land. You feel me? It would be a lot of restoration of order, a lot of righteous wisdom, knowledge, and science on how to do things properly, cleaner ways to, generate fuel. You feel what I'm saying? A better solution to the flooding than to levee the entire Mississippi River. Where is the wisdom, the information coming from that aspect, from these people that are claiming to be servants of these divine forces, but cannot appease their anger? Okay, understand something. We have the heathens, in the nations that are sucking the blood out of these regions. You feel me? Understand one thing about Louisiana, like you got the Atchafalaya Basin. That's like the largest freshwater swamp basin in the country. If you understand anything about coal, you know that coal comes from the swamp, comes from the wetland, ancient wetlands. You feel me? They call them coal forests. Look them up. Do your research. All right, coal formation, energy education, right? Check out what it say. You feel me? The formation of coal begins in areas of swampy wetlands where groundwater is near or slightly above the topsoil. Because of this, the flora present produces organic matter quickly, faster, in fact, than it can be decomposed. In these areas, layers of organic matter are accumulated and then buried. It is these layers of organic material that form coal. The energy in coal initially comes from the sun, and is energy from sunlight trapped by dead plants. Understand, these ecosystems, these swamps, these wetlands, they are so important, right? For one, they supply us with the coal, you feel me, and the petroleum, right? Which is why some of the biggest petroleum refineries are in this area right here, this swampy wetland area. You feel me? This region provides us with this resource. Not only that, it's a carbon capture environment. So a lot of the carbon dioxide we emit into the atmosphere, these swamps take that and store it. You feel me? Just to help us, not destroy ourselves at the rate that we trying to. You feel me? But these environments are important, bro. So we have the anger of the Lord kindled in a very sacred and important region because of what man is doing in that region. And we as planet keepers, bro, like this is not supposed to be going on. You feel me? We call ourselves children of the Most High. That we have the law of God, the wisdom of the Creator. But what are we doing with that? We're supposed to be saving the planet. We're supposed to be a light to the Gentiles to show them how to harmoniously live on the planet, how to harmoniously generate electricity, generate energy to harmoniously fuel and power society. You feel me? And so when you look at a lot of this masculine energy that's on the planet, that's destroying the planet, a lot of this is about power. Not necessarily power as in rulership, but power as in generating power to fuel societies. You feel me? We got wars being started over things that generate energy, that generate electricity, that provide fuel, you feel me, for engines and things of that nature. A lot of this is over valuable resources of the earth that we don't even respect the divine feminine, and we just continue to suck, the blood out of the earth. But this is causing the Most High's anger to be kindled. This is causing him to heat up the planet. You feel me? This is causing him to send sporadic weather at us that are putting our lives in danger, destroying the planet, destroying our communities. You feel what I'm saying? And we call ourselves priests. We say that we're dealing with these forces of nature, but we're not bringing the science and the wisdom to the forefront of how to appease these forces' anger, on how to do things properly so we can restore harmony and balance. And that's what we got to get back to. All this jick and jive and all this cultural and civilization game banging about who, what, we, what. If we claiming to be certain things, we need to be extracting this wisdom. We need to be that purified substance that the Most High can use to do some cleaning up, right? To appease his anger, that sweet smelling savor that'll appease his anger, that'll repent him of the evil of the destruction that he's about to bring on the earth. You feel what I'm saying? We're supposed to be that purified substance that go throughout the earth, cleaning up, running the parasite out of the gardens, teaching the heathen how to do things harmonious, how to build harmonious civilizations on the planet. You feel me? How to power them in a righteous, harmonious manner. That is our duty. We're supposed to keep the planet. You feel me? We're supposed to build civilizations and thrive, but they got to honor the divine feminine. They got to be in harmony. You know what I mean? So, to all my priestess, my priests and priestesses out there in the boot in Louisiana, that are claiming to be parts of these traditions and that are claiming to be servants of these divine forces that we know of as Oshun and Yemiya, I really encourage you guys to really step your game up. You feel me? Like, really do that. You feel me? And bring that information of appeasement to the forefront, because we need that. We have to clean up our planet. You feel me? We got to go back to the wisdom of the indigenous on how to understand these divine forces as they exist to appease their anger. Alright guys, man, so with that being said, I want to bring part 1 to a close. I appreciate everybody for rocking with me, man. I'm not going to give a dismount on this video because we got part 2 coming, so we just going to move right into part 2. But I do just want to say, that we have to tap into this wisdom, and look at the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Bring out this wisdom and this science, man, so that we can save our planet. We can be planet keepers. That's what we are first. We're aboriginal inhabitants of the planet. Our ancestors showed us how to build healthy civilizations. They did. They showed us how to generate energy and electricity properly. And that's what I want to get into on the next, the part 2, is that wisdom, tapping into that wisdom. But we got to get the planet back into honoring the divine feminine. That's how we obtain it. That's how we do it. That's how we bring it to fruition. Because this is serious, man. Our families, our lives are affected by this kindling of the anger of the Lord. You know what I mean? We just had a hurricane come through Florida. Hurricane Ian, came across Florida, man, did damage, did a lot of flooding. And as you know, Florida's full of swamp, full of wetland, full of primal ancient territory that has a lot of carbon capture ecosystems. You feel what I'm saying? So Hurricane Ian just came in and did damage. You know what I mean? So, and all of this is due to the kindling of the anger of the Lord, the lack of regard and respect for the divine feminine, just the lack of harmony we have when we establish civilizations on sacred land, and the things we do to fuel and power these civilizations, man. So this ain't no game. Like, these are things that really affect us. It's really getting hot on the planet. Weather's really getting crazy. These storms are getting serious, So we got to take these things into consideration, man. So, like I say, now that we understand the importance of the divine feminine, we understand how we kindle the anger of the Lord, and what we need to do to appease it. So, that's what we're going to get into, in the second part, the righteous way of doing things. So I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Love y'all, man, and catch you in part 2.